Hey everybody, it's Mike and welcome to Chip Damage, and we are continuing Sonic's 30th anniversary celebration by talking about yet another era of Sonic games. Yes. So today we're going to be talking about something of a hidden era, or at the very least a very little talked about era in Sonic's history. We're going to be talking about the Sonic the Hedgehog 8-bit games. Yeah, of course, Sonic is most well known for being on his home console, the Genesis, and all his 16-bit glory. But during this time in the early 90s, Sega had two other consoles, 8-bit consoles as it were, that they were supporting, and the little blue hedgehog was given plenty of love on those consoles. The first of which was the Genesis predecessor, the Sega Master System. And while it was not very popular here in North America, it was quite popular in both Europe and South America and received a number of Sonic titles well into the mid-90s. But the console that got the most love, other than the Genesis, with regards to Sonic games, was this beast here, the 8-bit Sega Game Gear. Yes, Sega's portable system. This beast got 12 Sonic games. That's more than the Genesis, more than the Saturn, more than the Dreamcast, more than any other console at the time, or in the decade, as it were. Yeah, 10 of those 12 were released in North America, and we'll be going over a number of those today. And at the end, we're going to be talking about how you can play these games today, because it can be kind of hard to hunt down a working Game Gear or a Master System copy of some of these games. But first, let's talk about the games themselves, shall we? Well, of course, the first game that we're going to be talking about is Sonic the Hedgehog 1 on the Master System and Game Gear. And I don't own a physical copy of this, but I own multiple digital copies of it. And what is that game? Well, that game, if you're interested, is a pretty good version of Sonic 1. It's basic, but it does look pretty good for an 8-bit game. Now, my understanding is that the Master System had a bit more horsepower than the NES, despite still being an 8-bit system. And it kind of shows in Sonic 1 and the further Sonic titles, but we'll get to that. But the Sonic 1 and the Game Gear and the Master System is pretty solid. You don't have the spin dash just like traditional Sonic 1, but it moves pretty smooth, it's pretty fast, it controls well, and it's impressive for an 8-bit game. And I strongly suggest you take a look at that on the multitude of consoles that it's available for, which we'll get into at the end. But there's not really much to say about Sonic 1 on the Game Gear. There are some differences, there are some changes, but it's mostly very comparable to Sonic 1 on the Genesis. What is not comparable to its Genesis counterpart is this gem right here. That is Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which came out on both the Master System and the Game Gear. So right off the bat, the Game Gear version of this is a little bit more playable. The screen is less scrunched up. Like there's more of an area view. So, Sonic's pretty fast. It's good to be able to see ahead of you. But there's some big differences in this game. This game has different zone layouts, like different zones entirely than the Sonic 2 on Genesis. You cannot play as Tails, though he is in the game, like in the story and on the title screen, and you cannot do the spin dash, which is just bizarre. This game is pretty good despite its difficulty. It looks much better than Sonic 1 on Game Gear and Master System. It is kind of, you could kind of see them pushing the Game Gear and the Master System a little bit with this one. It's worth your time, but it is difficult. This is still pretty easy to get. It is available in quite a few places, so please check it out if you're interested, if you're a big Sonic 2 fan, or if you want to play just a good 8-bit platformer, right here. But now we're going to be getting into games that were not released on the Genesis, at least the platformers that were. The first of which has been playing behind me this whole time, and that is Sonic Chaos. Yes, this is a rather good Sonic game. This was released only on the Master System and Game Gear, and I have no gripes with this one. This is just a solid 2D Sonic 8-bit platformer. Yet again, this one you can play as Tails, and he can fly, which is pretty cool. It's not really comparable to Sonic 1 or 2 in terms of zones or anything like that. There's different power-ups like rocket shoes that allow you to fly for a brief period of time. There are plenty of unique special levels in order to get the Chaos Emeralds. Instead of like a 3D stage, like a half pipe or anything, like they're each individual, almost mini-game-esque zones to get Chaos Emeralds. This was a fun game. This is known as Sonic and Tails in Japan, and like I said, this game doesn't get talked about very often because it was a Game Gear and Master System exclusive for many years. But yeah, Sonic Chaos, or also known as Sonic and Tails, solid game on the Game Gear and Master System, and an exclusive to them. Genesis never got this one. And the direct sequel to that game was this gem, Sonic Triple Trouble, which is a great game on the Game Gear. This is known as Sonic and Tails 2 on the in Japan. And this game was only released on the Game Gear. This was never released on the Master System, as far as I know. And this game lets you play as Sonic and Tails again, and it lets you go up against Robotnik, Fang the Sniper in his debut appearance, also known as Knack the Weasel at the time, and Knuckles. And This is just a great looking game for the Game Gear. It looks good. It was specifically made for the Game Gear, so you don't get that scrunch screen problem that scrunch screen problem that you may have had on Sonic 1, 2, and Sonic Chaos. And I really have no complaints. It's not the most difficult Sonic game is. Neither Sonic Chaos or Triple Trouble are that difficult, but they're fun, they're solid, they look great, and they're worth your time. And if you want to get some Fang love, this is the only, like, platformer that I can think of off the top of my head that you can fight Fang. Many doesn't count. That's not really Fang. So, But yeah, check it out. Sonic the Hedgehog Triple Trouble. And another Game Gear exclusive Sonic platformer that is not so great is this counterpart to Sonic 3D Blast that is just Sonic Blast. Yeah, Sonic Blast. I believe this game was also later released on the Master System in Europe only, in Brazil only, which is bizarre. This game came out super late on the Game Gear, 96. I believe it was the last Sonic game on the Game Gear, one of the last games, period, on the Game Gear. And this one's a little rough. You play Sonic and Knuckles, which is kind of cool. But this was, yet again, an attempt to do, enhanced graphics or, pre-rendered graphics a la Donkey Kong Country, which was very popular at the time. And it is impressive that an 8-bit system, especially the portable one, could do anything near pre-rendered graphics, and this does have a certain pre-rendered look, but it's just not very appealing. Like, it's not a pretty game. The character models are enormous, which makes it kind of hard to see what's coming up. It's okay. It's not the worst Sonic game, but it's probably the weakest of the platformers on the Game Gear games. I really just don't have much to say about this one. Everything kind of looks kind of like stop motion clay effect, but not in a super appealing way. But it is unique. It is a good, semi-decent platformer. It is worth checking out if you're a Sonic fan, you have a Game Gear. This one is actually getting kind of hard to find physically. If you want a physical copy of this is getting a little pricey. But hey, you're not finding it anywhere else. This one is rarely included in collections, so check it out. Sonic Blast. And moving away from platformers, there were a few other Sonic games released on the Game Gear, and that is this, we're talking about the Sonic Drift series. Yes, what I'm holding here is Sonic Drift 2, which was the only one released in North America physically. Of course, there's a Sonic Drift 1, and these are Game Gear racing games a la Mario Kart, but just not quite as good. I mean, Super Nintendo Mario Kart was never quite my thing, but this is maybe even a bit less, because the draw distance, the horizons in Sonic Drift 1 and 2 are just impossibly close to you. You can't see what's coming up. It's hard to turn. I mean, in Sonic Drift 2, you got some additional characters opposed to the core Sonic cast of Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy. In the first game, you got, like, Eggman and Fang the Sniper in Sonic Drift 2. And they're fun. Like, they're... but they're just not great. You can't see. They don't look terrible for 8-bit games, but I can't strongly suggest this if you're looking for a great 8-bit racer. But hey, it's unique. Sonic Drift 1 and 2 on the Game Gear. And going to some other non-platformer ports that were on the Game Gear is one of my least favorite Sonic games, but made even worse, and that is Sonic Spinball. Now, if you've seen my prior video on the Genesis spin-off Sonic games, I'm not a huge fan of this game. This game is rough to begin with on the Genesis, and it's kind of worse on the Game Gear. Like, first off, it's even harder to see, and secondly, the physics are just, like, even more off. I guess it takes some horsepower to emulate pinball physics, and it's just, from the little bit I could stand of playing this on the Game Gear, it just, couldn't get into this one. But if you're a huge Sonic Spinball fan and you need to take it on the go in this beast, and you have giant pockets, you can, hook up with this and have a somewhat fun time, I guess. But Sonic Spinball also came out on the Game Gear. But one spin-off game that I did love also came to the Game Gear was Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, or Puyo Puyo to everyone else in the world. Yes, this came to the Game Gear as well. And what is there to say about this? Well, it's Puyo Puyo on Game Gear. I mean, it's an 8-bit version of Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. It's a great little puzzle game. You couldn't really mess this up. It may not be as pretty, but there's an 8-bit charm to it, playing it on the Game Gear. And I suggest you check it out if you're a fan and, you want a slightly different version. Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine is a great game no matter where you play it. So if you want to play it on the Game Gear, check it out. And a couple games that I do not have physically are the two Tails games released on the Game Gear. Yes, Tails got his own games, one of which was called Tails Sky Patrol, which is a shmup. Yes, a shoot-'em-up, a pseudo-slow shoot-'em-up on the Game Gear that was never released in the United States for many years until later on the compilation, which we'll speak about in a minute. But Tails also, during that same year, in 1995, got his own adventure. Well, before Sonic got Sonic Adventure, there was Tails Adventure, which is quite expensive in North America for a physical copy now, and I'm hunting that down. And that is like a Metroidvania-esque game on the Game Gear. And I can't fully recommend that you go and drop a bunch of money on that one, but there are some download options for it, which we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, Tails had 2 full games on the Game Gear all to himself, and that's pretty neat. But so yeah, that kind of covers most of, if not all of, the Sonic 8-bit games. But how do you play these now? Not everybody wants to run out and buy a Master System or a Game Gear, and all the cartridges, because that can be pretty damn expensive. Well, luckily, these games have been ported to a number of collections over the years. Kind of hard to get them all in one place, but let's talk about it. So the first way you can get some of these games is right here. If you have an Xbox or PlayStation 2, you can get the Sonic Mega Collection Plus. Yes, it's a pretty well-beloved collection of Sonic games. Particularly, though, you cannot get the regular Mega Collection, the version that was first released on GameCube. The Plus that you see in the title was referring to the Game Gear games that were only found on the Xbox and PS2 versions. Now, there's only 5 Game Gear games released on these, but it's a good start. There was Sonic 1, Sonic Chaos, Sonic Drift, Sonic Labyrinth, and Mean Bean Machine. And I believe this was the first way you could play Sonic Drift 1 in the United States. And you can unlock these games, you play these games on the PS2 and Xbox versions on your TV, and this game is still relatively cheap. You don't have to run out and buy the old hardware. So yeah, if you want to get the first half of the games, you can get this. If you want the second half of said games, you have to go back to the GameCube and get the Sonic Gems Collection. Everybody knows this game as the legendary game that brought Sonic R and Sonic CD and Sonic the Fighters to home consoles, to the GameCube. But there are also 6 Game Gear games on here. The remaining Game Gear games that were not on the Mega Collection Plus. There was Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Sonic Spinball, Sonic Triple Trouble, Sonic Drift 2, Tails Patrol, and Tails Adventure were all on this. So if you want the first half of the Game Gear games, you need to get the Xbox or PS2 version of the Mega Collection. And if you want the second half, you can get them on the Gems Collection, which is kind of awkward. So what you could do, instead of getting both of those separate, is all 12 Game Gear games were somehow brought together on Sonic Adventure DX on the GameCube. Strangely, yes, this is not my favorite version of Sonic Adventure to play, but this GameCube version in particular has something that the Dreamcast and later HD ports do not have, and it's all the Game Gear games. Now, you must unlock them in this game, but it's just so strange to me that the entire collection of these Game Gear games isn't on its own collection. It isn't on like one disc just featuring Game Gear games. No, it's spread out either between these 2 titles that you see here, or if you want them all, if you want the comprehensive Game Gear set, this is kind of what you have to get, like right here. It's pretty nuts. And that's kind of it if you want the whole set in one. But the GameCube is now 20 years old, so if you don't have one of those laying around, what are one of the more modern ways you can play the Game Gear games? Well, you're not completely out of luck. The most recent way you can get these Game Gear games is actually right here on the 3DS. I have Triple Trouble going right now. Yes. Remember the Virtual Console that the Wii U, and the 3DS have? It's great. It's much better than that subscription service on the Switch that I'm always talking about. But there are a number of Game Gear games that are downloadable on the 3DS, and a number of the Sonic games. Not all of them, and I have the list is Triple Trouble, Mean Bean Machine, Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic Blast, Tails Adventure, Labyrinth, and Drift 2 are all available for download for like $3 to $5 on the 3DS, which is still available to get. You can still get 3DSs, maybe not for much longer, but if you want a cheap way to play the majority of these games, you can download them and they look pretty good and control pretty well on the 3DS. And yeah, that's kind of the most recent way that you can play these games. I mean, what you've been seeing behind me is the Wii version of Sonic Chaos. Yes, which is really the Master System version. For a small while, you were able to download Master System games on the Wii throughout its duration. And sadly, the Wii shop has been taken off. You were able to get the Master System versions of Sonic 1, 2, and Chaos on the Wii in North America and play them on your TV, which is just excellent. But sadly, the most recent way to play these games is only on either the portable Nintendo 3DS or on the SD versions that you see before you. So they're not the easiest. There's no super modern way to play these games, but I think they're still worth seeking out. And it's a shame that you have to kind of jump through some hoops to get them if you don't have the proper hardware, because while the core 4 Sonic games are being re-released later next year with the Sonic Origins collections, and the Genesis games have been released many times, the Game Gear games just haven't been. Yes, there are a few collections, but these are nearing 20 years old, and the Game Gear itself and the Master System versions are getting expensive. And you know what? These are fun games, and they're a big part of Sonic's history. Yet again, there were 12 Game Gear games that featured Sonic, and that's insane. So I'm really hoping that with if the Sonic Origins collection in 2022 is successful, they release more games. They release a collection of the 8-bit games, because they shouldn't be forgotten. People put time into making these. These are some pretty popular versions from what I'm to understand in Brazil, South America, and Europe as well. So yeah, please check these out if you haven't. If you're a big Sonic fan and there's some uncovered rocks and you just haven't jumped into the 8-bit games, they're definitely worth your time. Especially in my opinion, my recommendation to you is to try Sonic Chaos and Sonic Triple Trouble. They're solid platformers. And yeah, that's going to wrap it up for our talk about 8-bit Sonic. And there is a lot. And, you know, I didn't grow up with these games. I came to them recently, and I found a lot to enjoy. So I want to thank you for joining me as I speak about them. And please look forward to my future videos on Sonic, because the next video that we're going to be doing is one that is very, very near and dear to my heart. We're going to be talking about the Saturn era of Sonic games. And you may be saying, Mike, there's no exclusive Sonic games on the Saturn. They were all ports and stuff like that. And that's only pseudo-true. And I hope in the next video I'll be able to tell you why the Saturn era of Sonic was so very special to me and to a select few. So please, check that out in the future. And if you haven't seen my prior Sonic videos covering the 30th anniversary of Sonic, which I'm now dubbing the month of Sonic, please check those out. Like if you like, hit that like button if you like them, subscribe if you like them, and I'll catch you next time. My name is Mike. This has been Chip Damage, and take care of yourselves. Thank you.